All right, everyone, welcome to our weekly skill sharpening and hustle session. Thanks for joining us, those live and watching this replay. This session doesn't get any better than what we're about to set out to achieve today. But before I jump into today's co-host special guest, just a friendly reminder for each and every one of us on this call. I've worked in many businesses and office environments. In fact, heck, I've even owned them myself. And one of the things my years in business and particularly in our industry has taught me is that the strength of an organization at the epicenter of it, it all comes down to the internal culture of collaboration and the freedom of those that are willing to share openly within that culture. And with that said, we've got a special guest today who's only just partnered his business with our model a short few months ago. He sells 100 homes a year. But I want to be very clear, these sessions are an open session for each and every one of you. And as I look on the screen, I follow and I see many of you doing incredible things in our industry, whether it's your community spirit, whether it's your scripts and dialogues like we're going to dive into today, whether it's your social media domination. We've all got special crafts that we specialize in. So what I want to encourage, whether you're selling 100 homes a year like this guest today, Tim Hosking, or you're doing 5 homes a year, we don't care. We want to hear from you. So if you're doing something in your business that's helping you win, succeed in business and life, please put your hand up. We want these sessions to be about you. We would actually prefer them to be driven by you because these sessions are for you. Remember, our model is a model that was built by agents and it's for agents. These sessions aren't there to be a dictator each and every week dictating a certain agenda. We want to open the floor up to every one of you. So in the coming weeks, if any of you would like to be a special guest and co-host and you want to cover off a particular topic of what you're doing well in your business that's helping you win and find success and you're willing to share it, please put your hand up, reach out. We'd only be too happy to have you jump on. Without further ado, it doesn't get much better than the man himself on screen right now, Mr. Tim Hosking from the Copper Coast, 100 sales a year consistently, been in the industry since 1994. So 30 years of industry wealth of experience and knowledge that he's just willing to share. iPhone user, you're going on mute. Thank you. Um, and, that's really the true success behind this model. Tim, thanks for joining us, mate. We're going to jump into a little bit of an authentic dialogue session. I'm going to share my screen on a particular property that you're going to use as a case study and example. But, mate, over to you. You want to start off? Share a little story with us.
A little bit of a story. So for the guys in the team that are really trudging in the trenches, trying to get traction. Okay, back in '94 when I started my first camera, I took a photo with popped an image out the front. It was a Polaroid. So that's how far I go back. There was no realestate.com, no domain. There was just newspapers, and most of it was all black and white. So the journey of real estate has come a long way. I love tech. I love making it easier, but not forgetting the people. It's so important that we don't use tech and forget the clients that we're working with, whether they're purchasers or vendors. It's really important that we connect really solidly with people and not rely on the tech. So back in '94, I used to spend 3 hours every day on the phone with a paper printed reverse directory with suburb, street, house number, phone number, and name, and literally just ringing through. And I can remember one particular occasion I was phoning through South Plimpton, and this lady's answered her phone, and I said, "G'day, it's Tim Hosking from Pearl Real Estate. I'm just ringing through the area. Would you be aware of anyone that may be looking at either buying or selling properties at the moment?" And the phone slammed, and I had a headpiece on, and it was the old style phones, and it gave a good ring in the ear. So I thought I'd do what anyone would do. I'd ring her back. So I dialed her back, and she's answered the phone. I said, "Hi, it's Tim Hosking from Pearlvase. Are you okay?" Am I okay? I said, "Did you fall over? There was an accident with your phone." She goes, "No, I was slamming it down," and bang, got me a second time. Well, that afternoon, I'm then following up, and I've got a little trolley full of info packs and other stuff that I'm dragging behind me, and I'm going house by house, introducing myself to those that have answered the phone and are wanting some more information. I walked past her place. I'm always up for a challenge. So I went through and knocked on her door. as the door opened, I've stepped back, not knowing whether she's got a big dog that's going to maul me or anything. And the first thing I noticed, there was about 5 chains down the door. And this little face peeped out. She goes, "Can I help you?" I said, "Tim Hosking from Pelvage Real Estate. I spoke to you this morning on the phone." And she snatched the card out of my hand and disappeared off down the passageway. She's got down the end of the passageway. She's got a whole pile of business cards. She's now going through her cards and looking back at me and then going through. She got to the end of the pile and she come back to the door and took a couple of chains off. So it's opened up that little bit more. I can see she's a very elderly lady in her 80s or something like that. And I said, "What's with all the cards?" And she goes, "I'd like to know why you've called me today and why you're here today." I said, "Look, I actually live about 6 streets from here. And there's a credibility with working your patch." I said, I live 6 streets from here in Ascot Park." She went, "Oh, right. Yeah, but why are you here?" I said, "Look, I haven't picked on you." She goes, "You have." I said, "No, can I reassure you, I've not picked on you. I've rung the whole street." "Oh, you're trying to find out about me?" "No, not at all. I've rung everyone in the street and the next street. I do this every day. I ring different streets. Can I be of service to you in any way?" She's now back to 1 chain and the door's that even more further. She goes, "So you haven't targeted me at all?" I said, "I'm sorry. I know nothing about you or your property or your circumstances. There's no RP data where you can look up information about properties. You have to go to a library or approach the council to get information." So I said, "I'm sorry, I don't have any information." She goes, "Right." She walked back down the other end, got my card, come back, and she goes, "Pelvase, I don't know anything about them." I said, "Well, you're not dealing with them. You're talking to me. How can I be of help to you?" And she said, "Well, my husband passed away 6 weeks ago." I went, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry." I said, "Look, this is the wrong time. You've got my card. You feel free to call me if you need to." And I'm stepping back. At that point, she said, no, stay where you are." So I've stepped forward. She said, "So you don't know about my double block?" I said, "Are you on a double block?" And I looked at the width and it didn't look double. Her block went from 1 street to the other.
Oh,
Prime development site. So that's why she had all the business cards. Everyone had seen the death notice, looked at the address, the area, and they're hunting her
ah,
there for that reason. So I've straight away said, "Look, I am so sorry if I've impacted on you." She goes, no, you're welcome to call another time if you like, but I'm not selling." I said, "Well, I hope you have a wonderful life. All the best to you and your family." And I left. A month later, I'm cycling back through those same streets, going back through the ones I've missed, following up those that have had information from me that I hadn't caught up with. And I've seen her name and I've got her next to it, "Do not call." I had to call. So I've rung her up. I said, "Hey, it's Tim Hosking from Pelvase. How are you today?" And she said, "I'm really good." She goes, "The phone calls have stopped." I said, "Really?" Developers' phone calls don't stop. Other agents that are hunting don't stop. I said, how's that happen?" She goes, "Oh, really simply, I've just told everyone Tim Hosking from Pelvage Real Estate is looking after me." And
yeah.
the phone stopped. See, I reached her where she needed to be met at that time. In the next 6 weeks, I listed 8 properties, all refers from her.
Wow.
She knew her community. She would talk about the fact this guy's not after you. He's not after anything. He just wants to help.
Yeah.
So get back to the basics of what we are as an agent is we actually need to be walking in a door for an appraisal because there's an agenda, there's a need. And the majority of the times they don't tell you what the real reason is. You have to earn the right to hear that message as to why they're really doing what they're doing. There's often a case you have to scratch beneath the skin to find out where the pain point is or the desire or the need. And we actually come in as solution finders. We need to be the firefighters to put out the flames, find the course of action that's right, whether it's selling today, selling tomorrow, selling in a month, or selling in some cases 2.5, 3 years for one that I've just recently listed. You've got to journey with people. Our goal is, it's really easy for us to be commission breaths and be hunting the dollars And for the guys who don't have, I have repeat business that walks in the door. I get phone calls all the time asking for me just to come around and list their property. I still have, and even my partner Lisa will look at me and go, business is fine. I'm going, yeah, but it's not active enough. Well, I should breathe at that moment and enjoy it, because moments later I'm going, oh my God, what do I do with all this work?
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's the challenge, it's the hunger to be on your edge all the time. But when you haven't got that, it's very hard to say, look, I don't want your business at this point. Not that you word it like that, but not all business is good business. Bjorn said that the other week, and I've heard that many times over my career. There is certain work you need to walk away from, because if it's going to suck the life out of you or use up all your time when you could be working with 3 or 4 others, not all business is good business. But the role play that we've got, and I've sent through to Chris, and I'm going to talk to Chris as if I've already done a walkthrough of his property, because when I started a property, my goal is to actually engage but journey, and I want to walk through the whole home. I want to do the backyard. I want to look in their shed. I want to look in their messy closet. I want to engage with them at such a level that I'm writing notes constantly. I'm a note taker. I want them to reference and see that I'm saying, well, hold on, how many kilowatts do you got? You got 5. Okay, you've only got a really short number of panels. Well, I'm guessing it was 5. Well, where's your inverter? Let's find that. I want to get the details down as accurately as possible. Okay, so we'll take that as read, and I'll reference as if we have been, Chris, through a journey, and I'm going to say things that you've already said, even though you haven't. Okay.
Perfect. Mate, what I hear in this journey of yours, and we'll jump into the dialogue in a moment, folks, but it's the 3 H's that exist in a lot of high-performing people, not just agents, but in business, right? And it is, 1, they're hungry, which Tim is. 2, they're humble, right? It's an incredible quality trait to have. And 3 is humility. And in that first story you just shared, you absolutely shine bright in all 3 areas. Folks, if you can take something away from your business today, as Bjorn's even said, go into business like you don't need the money, like you're already a billionaire and super wealthy, right? And focus on those 3 H's, and you'll be amazed how much people are prepared to open up, undo the link chains on the door and open the door a little bit wider and actually start to open up to scratching beneath that surface. But Tim, I know your journey, and in life, you know, sometimes we need to go through trauma and we need to get to the depths of business and life and really, you know, to the bare bottom of, you know, what we know exists in life and business for ourselves to demonstrate those 3 incredible quality traits. So I'm going to share the screen. Let's jump into a bit of a role play, folks. And then what we'll do is we'll open up to a bit of a Q&A there afterwards. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you can see that RP proposal.
Yep.
Lovely. All right. Over to you, Mr. Tim.
Yeah. So Chris, thanks a lot. We're now sitting at your table. Mate, you've got a really lovely property down here at the Dunes. Don't scroll too far, mate. Just pop back up a bit. Yeah, down. Yeah, just there. So I'm stopped at that picture, okay?
Yep.
Chris, with regards to myself and with EXP, my journey with anyone that I work with is to actually help you to actually be able to make a decision on your property in your time and the way you feel comfortable by me partnering with you, giving you a good amount of quality information so that you can make an informed decision. Whether you're making it today, in a month, or in a year, that's your call. Your timing is your timing. But the important thing is I'm going to work on a personal basis with you. If you feel that you see something that's different from what I'm saying, love for you to hear it. Stop me at any moment all the way through it. If you have a question or something you need to know about, let's deal with the questions as we go, because I'd rather handle that right then, and we can keep moving through the process. So, yes, I'm an agent that's working in a really large organisation of EXP, but we're all individual business people that are within it, and we all rely on each other. So if you scroll to the next screen, there's tech that's available to us in EXP that I'd second to none. My change from my former employer, and I'm still getting a lot of questions about that, why you would leave. I said, reality for me is I've released the shackles. The XP have allowed me to kick off what I couldn't do and do a lot more of what I love doing. And so also the fact with the XP, there are so many other business operators within the group that I can now lean on, not only just for support and answer questions, but also that they will kick in and help wherever it's required. So it's really a great journey, and happy if you'd like to partner with that as we go through, if you choose me as your agent. You scroll next.
Yeah, look, for me, Tim, seen a little bit about EXP. I did see you with formerly Harris, mate, but I'm also dealing with you because I know Tim Hosking. I see Tim Hosking
Yeah.
everywhere on the Copper Coast, mate.
Yeah, thanks. You've got a beautiful property, and we can scroll to the next slide. There's all these fantastic images. You actually bought this property back from me, what, 2.5 years ago. At the time, I was actually pretty concerned that you'd actually pay too much. But as you know, I work for vendors. I'm going to help my vendor get as much as I can. That's part of the reason you've got me here, Chris, is because you know the service I gave you on your buy-in. And on settlement day, when I handed you a set of keys and a gift voucher to the local restaurant, I did say to you, mate, you bought at the top end of the market, but don't worry, the market's still moving. If you ever want to get the great result, give me a call. Happy to look after you down the track further. So really happy you've got me in. The extension you've done on the back, looking over the golf course, sensational. Okay, you've taken that indoor living and taken it out, looking out here now. The view is something extraordinary over that golf course. Next screen, mate. Just scroll down.
Yeah, it's funny you say, Tim, when I bought through you, mate, you were a pretty relentless negotiator. I did probably feel at the time I was paying, a bit more than we were prepared to, but I'm glad the market has shown a little bit of signs of movement, but I'll be guided by you on that, what the market's doing right now from 2 and a bit years ago.
Yeah. Here, if you're looking on this chart here, you can see that there is an overall rise in the market. And there's a couple of people out there now talking about how the market's flattening off. Well, you've only got to go back into, what is that? That's, I'm just scrolling on my screen, sorry. January 24, there was a drop in the market. And people were saying, hey, look, yeah, the market's flattening off. We're going to see a fall. And lo and behold, we've rebounded. I don't see any triggers in the market right now for us to have any concern that the market's going to fall. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, maybe we could make some different choices. But right now, the trend line you're looking at, the market's still rising. The buyers that I'm meeting are still got a massive appetite for great properties, and you do have a great property. I think we've got to be careful that we don't attract the wrong people, because there's actually way too many buyers in the market for great properties. We need the ones that see it the way you see it and the way we want to target. So let's scroll down a bit further. As you can see there, there's a real appetite in terms of the buyer activity in the market. The Dunes does beat to a different drum to overall Port Hughes. As you know, there's the older portion, there's the waterfront, and the Dunes, yeah, we pay a bit of an extra levy being in the golf course, but that'll weed out a few of the people that really haven't got the money, because, mate, we're going to be targeting a cream number for your property. So we need to get there, but we also need to attract the right people. It's that marketing that we need to work with to cast the net and bring in the right buyers, okay?
Yep.
You scroll a bit further. In that chart there, you can actually see that the majority of buyers that are buying in the market are between 4 and 6. But again, I'll say that's Port Hughes. That's not the Dunes. The Dunes actually stop more closely in the 6 to 800,000 range. And so that's really where, consistently with your property, we'll be in that sort of 6, 8, 1 mil. That's what's happening through the area. We scroll a bit further. Something I do want to cover, I do want to explain what the pricing is. I do want to explain to you where you sit really clearly in the market and get your feedback as to what you're hoping to achieve, okay? So we'll come to that. Look, I've been doing this a long time, okay? 1994, when I got into real estate, I can still remember I think I was 3 months in, and I'd listed a few properties, and one particular weekend, I had my best of a weekend in that year that I was in, and I sold 4 or 5 properties. And on Monday morning, I walked into Eric, my boss, and I dropped this big bundle of contracts in front of me. He says, mate, you've been a busy boy. I said, I have. There's 5 there. He said, 5 what? I said, 5 contracts. He went, oh my gosh, really? I said, yeah, all at asking price. And the first thing his response was, get the prices out of the windows. All of them. Get them all out. I said, no. People shop by price. And he goes, no, we're wanting best outcomes for everyone. And you look at that, the keys to best outcome, the first point is price. Yes, people shop by price in a market that's subdued, but we're in a market that's still roaring. Adelaide, Port Hughes, the regions, they're all roaring still. People aren't shopping by price, they're shopping by what's available. And back then, I took all the pricing off. Now, where we can go back and look at that chart and we can see that the growth rate is going up, the reality is that back then in 94, we had none of that available to us. We were literally floating in the, we had no charts. We literally were listening to the market and gauging off other agents. I used to bop into Barry McGain. I used to go into the Ray White down in Glenelg. We had working relationships with all these guys because we were a small home-based office in a Summerton Park garage. That's where we had window display at a garage in a home. So we had to rely on listening to other people. And here we are 20, 30 years later, and I'm in a home office again. It's fantastic. But the reality was that price was the key back then, and we removed it and we went EOI. After my training had told me EOI is in a market that is really very short-lived. Well, here we are 3 years later after COVID. I'm still doing EOI and I'm still getting phenomenal results. We want that great result for you. Now, price is important, Chris, for you and I. We need to understand what you're wanting to achieve. I need to work out whether I can manipulate and move the market to where you want to be. And if the market's there, my process will bring it out. But if it's not there, we'll learn what the market is doing, and then you'll have a decision to make whether you want to engage with that market or not. That'll be your call, okay? So price is important that we understand, but that's not where people are searching now. In the market where I am, they're looking suburb. That's what they're looking at. They're not looking at price. They're not looking for 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom. They're looking at what the heck's available, because there's only, as of this morning, there's only 62 available properties in the whole Copper Coast with 16 salespeople. So hold on a second. Who's got them all? It doesn't really matter. The reality is your property, is it going to compete in the market? Where is it placed? How would we expose it? Well, price is important, but the major part is marketing. As a marketer, I consider myself primarily a marketer and a negotiator. I'm not a real estate agent. Real estate agent is the area I work in, but I need to understand what the marketing is so we can bring about the key features of your property, like what attracted you to the property in the first place, and what other people and why they engage with me so much is my imagery is fantastic. The way we cast the net to bring in the right people, because there's 4,500 people registered on realestate.com looking for properties in the area and 62 houses.
Wow.
We've got all the advantage as a seller. What we need to do is cast the net the right way with the marketing to bring in the right people. So price is important. Marketing is critical. The other thing with marketing is we actually need to be honest. Yours isn't a big home. It's a beautifully designed home, but it's not a big, grand home. There's other big, grand homes around. And that, if that's what they want, well, they don't want yours. We want the right people to come to your property that want to look straight down the fairway of hole number 5. We want to have that glimpse over other properties out to the ocean. They want to enjoy the sunsets in the afternoon, that want to look at over a golf course and absorb the morning sunrises and have their coffee in the morning. Mm-hmm. You've got a key parcel of land alongside your home that really, we both know we can't build a shed on it. That's just the encumbrance. It is what it is. But the reality is someone can park a big van there when the majority are built edge to edge across the blocks. You've got that radius at the end of the cul-de-sac that gives you capacity to park a big van.
Yep.
So again, we need to do some clever marketing, showing what can be parked, what can be achieved with your property. So marketing's clear but honest. Show it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The next part is agent activity. I work ridiculously long hours. I'm very fortunate. I love what I do. I mean, you called me. I reckon it was 9:45 when we were
Mm-hmm.
negotiating
Yep.
your buy, and I answered the phone. Well, if we're in the heat of negotiating, there's no way I'm letting the phone call go to vestige bag. I'm going to answer it. We're going to discuss it. Well, next morning we had everything all together because you were prepared to ring me at 9:45. Well, you're not the only buyer that will. There's others out there that will ring. They will message. They will be concerned about something. If they need an answer, I'm there because I'm there for you. I work for vendors, but I have to work with the buyers very diligently. That's agent activity. Now, the next point for keys for a best outcome is presentation. Your presentation is the difference between an okay or good result and a great one. I don't believe you need to style your home, to be honest. I know a lot of people do a lot of styling, but you've created a really welcoming home. Yeah, you've got some eclectic stuff here and there scattered around the home, and certainly a little bit unusual, Chris. You've got some unusual tastes and stuff. But the reality is there's a couple of bits of furniture we'll just put to one side in a room and we'll photograph it because people will be more captured with the item rather than the room. So we'll do that. And then we can put them back where they normally are because when people walk in with our eyes are a miracle, that they'll see past that and they'll see the room. And so I don't believe you need to remove anything. We'll just
Okay.
be careful how we photograph up the property. Okay. Scrolling down to that next section, the marketing is, as I've said, really important. We've got to capture clear images. The drone images, they say a picture says 1,000 words, and they say so much through here. You see at the bottom there's a twilight image that you can click on, and that will actually open up. It creates such a mood. We have, with your place, windows that have views to beautiful scenery. We've got the golf course one side, we've got farmland to the south, we've got the ocean out to the west. To photograph it up with my photographers at twilight will capture the mood that we can create in your property, and we'll get some extra ones done in daylight, looking out over the golf course to highlight that green and really make that punch. But, I mean, you'd agree, you've got a beautiful home, Chris.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, I think I'm glad to hear the point on the styling because I do have some interesting furniture. So, and I've had varying opinions from different agents about styling the room. Look, ideally at our age where we're moving, we sort of don't want to shift furniture out and bring more in. We kind
Yeah,
of, yeah, we don't have the resources for that. So that's good to
you
know.
know, yeah, absolutely. And if it meant that there was a couple of pieces that you felt, look, you didn't even really want them in someone's eyes, well, to help you out, I can organise a couple of guys to come around and help shift that into the garage if you're going to be more comfortable. Because a couple of the pieces you've got, they're pretty expensive, and I know you have expressed interest in having it sold as a walk-in, walk-out. Well, if that's the case, let's remove the items that aren't going to be included. Let's take them out of people's eyes so they don't start saying, well, actually, I really want that piece. Well, it's not for sale. So let's remove it. So if you're comfortable with that, I can certainly organise some labour and we can move those items into the garage.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Yep, that's fair.
On the next scroll down, on that right hand circle, you can see that we've had a population growth of 26.5% over the last 5 years, which is really quite staggering. But we're also 74% are owners. So everyone talks about the region through here, and I know you've set it up as a home, but it's been a holiday home for you. The reality is there are so many people moving into our region that are wanting a home. So I know that you're wanting to sell it furnished as a walk-in, walk-out. And yes, that's happening a lot. But there's also that case that we may actually have people that go, you know what, we're bringing all our own furniture. We don't want anything that you've got in here. And so if that's the case, we'll have to cross that hurdle as we come to it. I think if we advertise it, as you said when we were walking around, that you wanted it advertised as a walk in, walk out, I think that could restrict our buyers, Chris.
Okay.
Bit concerned about that because the reality is if we've got a 74% ratio of people that are homeowners, we could be losing 2/3 or 3/4 of our market. And I don't want to lose anyone for you. We still want that premium price. And if it means that we've got to do something with your furniture and you're going to have to take some back to Adelaide or on sell, I may be able to arrange to have some bought by who buys it. And we still may yet get someone who says, I want all of it. But I think to advertise it as a walk in, walk out, I don't want to limit your buyers.
Okay.
I think it may be best if what I'll do is I do with all my clients is I'll listen, okay? As I'm walking around with them, we give it as an option. Within the text, there'll be a point where it will actually say, maybe purchased walk in, walk out by negotiation.
Okay.
But if someone sees that as a value add and they're prepared to add extra money, well, then fantastic. That's achieving two goals. Yes, you're getting rid of all the furniture you don't require because you've got a beautiful home in Adelaide and you don't need all that furniture back there. But it also doesn't mean, it means you get more money in your pocket. It can be a sweetener that might just help us get that extra. But it also doesn't limit someone if the reality is that they need to actually bring all their own. Well, let's see where the dollars are, okay? And let's see how we can maneuver things around and see how we can work with stuff, okay? With some pretty good removals locally that I might be able to help out, try and keep your costs down and do something there, okay? In my market here, there's basically three lines of sale process that are currently used: auction, private treaty, express of interest. Now, express of interest is another form of private treaty, but private treaty commonly has an advertised price. Now, I know you said as we walked around that you hate, and it's a strong word, but you made it pretty clear, you hate express of interest. And can I just say that the vast majority of buyers are the same, okay? Let's talk through it. I can see that look in your eye, that you still hate it, and I know you know that I work predominantly with express of interest. So let me just explain the reasons why, but let's come to that. Okay. Auction market. Sorry, mate, what was that?
I said, yeah, mate, because when I bought off you, it was EOI, so I went through it as a buyer, I guess, and now I'm looking at it from the seller's perspective.
Yeah. And the auction is starting to become a bit of a flavour in the area, but they're doing an online auction. Yes, it's not. Some people feel it's not transparent enough, or some people don't believe express of interest is transparent enough either. But we'll talk about my process, and I know you went through it. And yes, you achieved the right outcome. You secured the property, but you also offered within 3 days of the property coming online. And so you never saw the extra. You beat that first open by increasing your offer by 120,000 to beat the market. So great for that. But also we need to understand what the other options are. Okay, so auction, the downside for auction in my market here, and this is where we are, is the vast majority of people either have finance, but they can't get pre-approval to bid at an auction in the region. And the second one is that they've often have properties to sell. Well, that precludes them from auction. Well, there's 2/3 of our buyers. In actual fact, I think it's probably 80% of our buyers would not be able to bid at an auction. So I'd rather engage. You did say that you've got time up your sleeve. You're talking anywhere from 3 to 6 months to get a settlement completed. So that gives us plenty of opportunity to actually walk through a normal sales process without having an auction which is 30 days done, dusted, and have to be cash. Well, cash is nice, and we do see a lot of cash. But I also believe we could get someone who says, hey, look, I'm selling out of Norwood. I'm getting a schooling from a property there. Not that they'd say that, but they are. They're coming out here to the region, and reality is that the changeover for them, they're cashed up. Well, they're going to sell in Norwood, Chris. There's no question they're selling. They've just got to get a good agent. I know a number of really good EXP agents that I could help them with So we're really well connected in that area. So what if we explored, we'll remove option because it just depletes the number of buyers. Okay, you
Mhm.
okay with that?
Yeah, mate, I never was really comfortable with that option.
Okay, so let's take that out. Private treaty. Now, private treaty is really, it's dovetailed with expressive interest, but it's price orientated. And as I covered before, people aren't shopping by price, they're shopping by what's available. So if the moment they do the what's available and they've found 4 properties in the dunes, 3 of them are 2-story like yours, and they see you with a price of X, and they go, yeah, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And they just rule you out. Well, I'm not comfortable with anyone being ruled out unless they know what you actually really are. So I want to engage with buyers on your behalf and give them some more insight of your property and give some guidance as where you could be. Now, as we walked around, you slipped, Chris. You gave me a number. Okay. I listen for that stuff because that's the way I'm wired. You're talking 820, 830 for your house.
Yep.
Now, you bought it for 690. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, the reality is the market's growing. Okay. And we can see from that chart the market has definitely kicked on. We're incrementing at about 10 to 12% year on year for the last 3 years. So,
Mhm.
yes, your property's grown, no question. Okay. The downside is that the dunes is a very small market. A lot of people will pay big money. And if we're talking over 8, we're talking some serious coin in our area. If you're over 8 and you're looking over water, every man and his dog's going to want your property. But over the dunes, looking at a golf course, that's a different thing. Okay. So we're going to have to be really careful again, going back to marketing. We need to highlight what you have and what you're on the cusp of, that you're
Okay.
right to a walkway through the sand dunes to the beach. You really, everything that we need to have, we're going to have to pull out all stops. And I know some of the other agents you've had through would have talked some of the advantages. Mate, I live and breathe this area. This is where I've been for 18 years. I know my market, but I also know the buyers. And I know people will throw up, yeah, it's an extra $700 a year. I said, well, that's $7,000 over 10 years they're going to pay to be in here. But the lifestyle people will achieve here will be amazing. So
Mhm.
with the expression of interest, what I'd like to be able to do for you is explain the process. An expressive interest process is about getting, look, let me tell you a story. I'll explain it this way. Last week, I'm in the local Drake supermarket. And as I turned the corner, this guy's yelled out, I want to talk to you. And it was done with a agitated voice. And there were just literally everyone stopped and looked. And I thought, oh, I wonder who he's talking to. And he's looking at me. Okay, there's a problem here. And he's a fairly sizable fella and he's walking towards me. And you could see management looking, and I've just sort of waved, it's okay, I know them all in there. And they're a bit concerned as to whether there's going to be an altercation. And I said, how can I help you? He said, I'm trying to buy a place. I said, great, how can I help? He goes, put a bloody price on property. I went, right. Which property were you interested in? And I picked up my phone and I've gone, which was it? And he said the address. And I instantly scrolled to that address in my notes. And I said, yep, so you're looking at high 400, low 500 for that property. He goes, well, why don't you put that online? I said, I've just given it to you. He said, yeah, but I wanted that online. I said, well, I can't advertise that way. My vendor has chosen to listen to the market for the first 4 to 6 weeks and just see where the buyers see it. So is that consistent with you think? He goes, well, I was expecting low 5s. I said, well, there you are. Some people might see a high 4 because maybe they don't see the value in that back al fresco like you do. He said, yeah, absolutely. That's gorgeous there. Well, so what do I need to do? I said, mate, you see anything. In the first paragraph I've got written there, contact Tim for a value of the market for this property. He goes, oh, I saw that. I said, mate, flick me a text, flick me an email, give me a phone call. I said, I'll come back to you. I want to give you the numbers. He goes, well, I've got 2 others. I said, here they are. See, I'm inundated with contacts the moment a property hits online, and I want to tell people values. I want to guide them to where you want them to be, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Your guide that you want is 820, 830. So I think if we just scroll down a little way, so that's expressive interest. The whole idea is to actually guide people. So when I'm looking through these properties, and I know, look, you've had what, 3 other agents through, Chris?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you're the third.
Yeah. The first guy that come through, with the other 2 that have been through, probably one of them would have walked through, complimented a fair bit of the property, got a business card out, scratched a figure on it, dropped it on the table and said, give me a call when you're ready to sell.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yep.
The other one would have spent all his time talking about all his sales and what he does in the area, and probably didn't even take a note down of what you've got in the property.
Spot on. Nail on the head.
So I know that my competition, the reality is that I'm entirely different. So I'm already probably 20 minutes longer than what any of the others were.
Yep.
Yep. And we've still got a little bit to go because I want to cover off these sales.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're looking through them, the majority of these are single stories when you scroll down. The reality is in the last 12 months, there hasn't been as many 2 stories, but I've sold about a dozen of them over the last 3 years, yours, of course, included in that. Now, the reality is, if you're looking there are single story properties they're selling in the 8s. Now, why would someone buy a single story when they could have bought your grand property in the 8s? Mm-hmm. Well, the reality is there's going to be people that you haven't got a lift. They can't get up. This is a lot of retirees are buying into the dunes, loving their golf. They've got their golf cart, all that sort of stuff. They don't want the stairs. So again, we've got to target the right buyer. We're also not competing with single stories. You're
mm-hmm.
not a single.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're looking for, again, we're casting that net, bringing the right people for what you are, not what you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where you said, I can remember you saying, I think it was your father-in-law that comes to stay with you and goes fishing with you.
Yep.
And you're so glad there's a downstairs bedroom.
Spot on. Yep.
If you'd had a single story, you probably would have had your other family members coming. But see, your father-in-law had the main bedroom and the others didn't come because they can't get up the stairs.
Yeah.
The reality is people are buying according to their needs. What we need to do is make sure we attract the people that want what you are and their needs fit what you are. Yep. So when I scroll through them, and we'll take it that we've gone through all of these and discussed them, the reality is that this is what's sold, and that next section, this is what's currently in the market. There's 4, but none of them are in the dunes. Case in point, if you look at that 2-story that's sitting there in the bottom right corner, that one there, when I appraised that, I went to get up against those same agents that had a look with you. One of them's engaged with that and said yes to the vendors. You'll get high 7s at 780. Well, as you can see in that price that it's now at 689 advertised. Well, I heard yesterday it's actually now been sold 616,000.
$200,000 difference.
Now,
after 207 days on market.
After 207 days on market. Okay. Now, the catch with that is when I went through, they started explaining that the property was this and it was that. And I agreed, it's been beautifully done. But where yours is a really very desirable floor plan, it's not big, but it's very cleverly done. This one wasn't built by these vendors. They bought it as a very rundown, and they've done an extraordinary job, but the floor plan's still not very usable, and people will see it that way. But they had rose-colored glasses, okay? And so they saw it through a different set of eyes to what I saw it, because I'm trying to see it as a buyer sees it. And I'm going to talk to you in a moment about where I see buyers for you, okay? Mm-hmm. I wrote down a number because every time they turned the corner, they painted a really rosy picture on the next room, which I didn't see. And so I wrote down a number that started with a 5. And they've gone, what was that you just wrote down? I said, I've just written a number down. They said, a 5 something? I said, yes. I said, I'd just like to know where you are. I said, yeah, we want to know what you've said. I said, I'll open it up and show you in a moment, but I'd like to discuss, what are you seeing? And I said, well, of course, we're high 7s. I said, okay, I've missed something. What else have you got that's of hidden value that could potentially help me to see it in a different light? They quickly ran me through all these extras that they'd done. But the reality was I was still in the high fives. Now, I then opened it, showed it to them. They disagreed with me and said, I've got another agent, which is one of the agents that's been with you. I would think that they probably may have said to you, you're probably going to get 900, Chris.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much spot on. High eights, low nines.
That might have given you a glimmer of, wow, the market's really roaring. Okay. The important thing is that the market determines the market. You and I can have our opinion, and I don't have to agree with you, to be honest. My process drives price.
Yep.
My goal is to hear where your end game is and where you want to be. But the reality is I need to produce the process that allows the right buyer to be flushed up out of the buyers. And if whether we've got 1, 5, or 15, if we've got that one that says, hey, we are in the high eights into nines, well, mate, I'll be cheering and I'll be the first one to say, mate, I undervalued you because I don't see you in that light where that other agent does. But I didn't see this property either like that. My goal to them was, I believe you're in the high fives, low sixes. And if we handle it right, by not burning a price, by putting a price out there, and I know, Chris, I know you wanted a price. These guys, this is the downside of pricing over where you should be. If they launched it at just under 8 and they've got 616 because they burned the property and people are just backing off from it. They couldn't get anyone at their opens. They dropped it to 616 and it sold in 24 hours. What could they have got if they'd gone EOI, started with a guide from high fives into sixes? We could have got competition. We could have got a 650 or 660. Look, the reality is they could have just got a better result.
Yep.
Okay?
Understood.
My goal for you is to get a better result, not just to sell in the market, because, mate, you've got a beautiful place. You can put a for sale sign out front. You'll sell your property.
Yep.
You won't pay an agent fee. You won't pay marketing. Someone will drive through at some stage and they'll offer you money. Okay? Mm-hmm. You can put it on Facebook. You'll get offered some money, but you're going to deal with a lot of people who will never actually engage with you properly. They'll all be beating you down. You don't need to put up with any of that. That's my job. Mm-hmm. I'll attract the right people because I'll filter them the right way. So if you scroll down, you can see here the way I work out from an expression of interest and working out current market. Estimated market value is quite challenging. It's best described in 2 parts. I have a realistic base price, so we're going to discuss that, okay? Plus cream. Now, cream is that unknown. Cream is like, there's a property on Bay Road and Coast Road. That orange 2-story that's there that's now being painted white as you go on Coast Road. That one went into the market with they bought it, 2.5 years ago for $350. I appraised it at $450, $470, but we guided into the market at high fours into fives. We sold it for $601. That's cream.
Wow. Yep,
the market,
gotcha.
All the other buyers in the market were between $490 and $520. One who believes he snatched it out of the market offered all he could under an expressive interest process. That's cream, and that's what we want for you. If the cream's there, the process will drive it. Okay?
Yep.
So there's a volume of buyers. We don't know what their desire is. Look, I had someone last week, a husband and wife, through a property similar to yours down in the Bay, not in Port Hughes, but they would overcome. A lot of people don't want to pay the extra money to be in a golf course estate, but with the advantages you've got, I'm pretty sure these guys would engage, okay? When I walked them through this other 2-story, every time the husband came within earshot, the wife just stopped talking. Eventually, I picked up that she had something she wanted to say. And so I said, hey, I said to the husband, the shed's unlocked. You're welcome to go in there. I'll just show your wife upstairs. And he said, oh, great. And he's just bolted out the back door. And she goes, thank you, God, you've got to help me. I said, help you with what? We've been on the road for 2 years. I can't spend another year in the caravan with that man. I said, right, so you need a home. She goes, I want a roof over my head and a shed for him to disappear into. we need some space, please. So your place offers space because they'll park the big van alongside of it. I also know he's a closet golf nut. So if we can engage him with a couple of the locals and get him into the golf, she'll have all the time. She'll be a golfing widow in no time, and she'll just spend her time with the grandkids that she wants.
Yeah.
Okay. So the goal is we don't know what the buyers really want until they press in. My job is to listen and then try and help them to buy the right property and engage with them and use those trigger points to help them move up in price. So the need's going to drive this. Now, I'd expect your property, in all reality, is really an 850. Now, I do know that you, from the other agents have been through, that you're talking high eights into nines. And I know you said you were happy with an 820, 830. Well, you're smack on with where the market really is, in my opinion. Okay. But we don't want to just sell the property. We really want to maximize it. So with an EOI process, I think what we should do is guide people mid eights to nines, but that's privately. So everyone that rings me, phones me, texts me, emails me, I'll give them all exactly the same. And when we've got 5 or 6 people on the table that are all saying, well, where are we now? I'll be still saying mid eights to nines, because what I don't want to reduce is that chance where someone goes, you know what, Tim, I'm going to pay him 930 to get it over the line. I think you'd be happy if that was to happen, Chris.
Stoked.
Yeah.
Astounded.
Now, when you offered, this is going back a little bit, when you offered that sum where you jumped at 120, everyone else that came in was around 20 to 25,000 below you. Mm-hmm. So yes, you bought, but you didn't overbuy at the time. But the others, they never got the push. They never got that opportunity to do an expressive interest. Where could they have paid if we'd actually been able to apply just a little bit of heat to allow them to maneuver into the market? Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, we've touched on marketing a number of times. Just below this is the package that I use. $21.95 covers your twilight. Realestate.com was a premier listing. So every 15 days, you'll cycle back up to position 1. If they're just going into realestate.com, there's every chance you'll be on page 1. Okay. But if you're not, 15 days later, you'll be in position 1. Okay. We'll just keep cycling through, because again, there's not as many buyers buying in the dunes as what there is in the greater Port Hughes, Moona Bay area. It's a bit more restrictive because of the costs involved, but also it's not right next to the coast. You're really a golf-centered property, okay? Mm-hmm. So we need to have that time up our sleeve. Now, I'm currently 7 to 12 days on market. Okay. So would you have a problem if we got it under contract in a short time? I know that you've got some other affairs coming up that you need to get sorted. Timing is important. What's going to be best for you and your circumstances?
I look happy for a 7 to 12 day result. We probably just need a 60-day settlement term to allow enough time for us to, if someone doesn't take the full tilt furniture, to pack up and move, because I'm not, not as nimble as I once was many years ago. So just a bit of time on that side.
Yeah, no, that's all good. Given what we're at right now, we're at almost the start of spring. The timing's going to be great. It's always better to not have roaring 40-degree temperatures when we are in the dunes, because you're just that little bit back from the water. Timing for you would probably be spot on. When we had your wife here earlier, and I know she had to go, so it's a shame we didn't get to talk about this, but happy to meet her later and run through some stuff if you feel I need to.
Sure.
He was talking about February, March. Now, I know you're going to need to have a chat with her about that. Can I just say, be confident the market is still going forward. Yes, if you want to go now, we can go now. Okay, so happy to do that. February, March, if that's going to work out being the right timing for you, we can engage then. What I would recommend between now and then, though, is we can do what I call a silently listed property. And effectively, I can use the information that I've already got about your property. If I was lacking some, I certainly can gather that. And that way, if I'm working with buyers and someone says, hey, look, what I'm needing, I want to look down the golf course. I want this, I want that. I need a place for my big boat. or my big van, and the box is ticking, and I'm hearing 7 Stableford, 7 Stableford. Okay, hold on. What budget range are you in? And if they say they're in the sevens, I'm not even going to mention your place. But if they say, look, we've got a budget of eights, nines, somewhere in that range, but we actually want to rent it back for a period of time or have a delayed settlement. What I'd like to be able to do is, if I've got it silently listed, I can show them a floor plan of your place. So I can just pre-work out whether they're going to work for you. If they're not, well, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to get drive-bys, because I know your wife really is a very private person. And so what I'd suggest is no advertising, nothing online. Even that floor plan doesn't even have an address on it. And the first thing the buyer's going to say is,
what's the address?
And I'll say, look, I'd need to check with the vendors. I'll give you a call, Chris. I'll give your wife a call. Yep. And say, look, I've got some buyers who are primed. Their level of motivation is extremely high.
Okay.
Are you in a position where you'd at least receive that call? You're welcome to say, mate, if it's not the right time and it's not the right time, no pressure. But at least then you've got the option. Would that work for you if that's the case?
Yeah, that's fair, mate.
Yeah. So again, no pressure. We just do that. Now, this marketing is all about going to market.
Okay.
If we're off market, if we're a silently listed property, the reality is there's no cost. There'll be an admin fee when we sell to your property, and we can do things. But the reality also is it might leave you $2,100 better off in your pocket. Word of caution: best price is governed on market, not silent. Whenever I see properties that are not achieved the maximum, one of the guys you've had through, he's probably offered you a silent straight off the bat and said he's got plenty of agents to come through.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I've been doing this for 30 years. We've all got buyers that can come through. I can do a rent a crowd and make it look really busy in your property. But the reality is, you, with your circumstances and change of direction, what I'm feeling is you want absolute maximum dollars out of your property.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, well, we paid a premium. You made us pay a premium, so I didn't get as much back, mate.
That's right. Well, the reality is, on market brings you premium price. Silent is an option, but only if you're waiting time. If you're really wanting maximum dollars, it's better to stay completely out of the market. Come in fresh, no chit chatter that something might be coming. And when you launch it all guns blazing, every portal, great photographs, great information, and an agent who's going to engage and be there from the moment it's launched, be answering calls and text messages and everything else, like I did with you when we were talking at 9:45 in the evening. I will engage with people on your behalf to work to get the maximum. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So timing, you sort that out with your wife. I'll work whichever way you want to go. Now, if you scroll down, you'll see some pretty faces there. These guys, they're in the background with me, and I lean on them at different times, and they'll support as required. Scrolling down, there's a couple of testimonials, but I know you've been on realestate.com, and I've got 300 and something testimonials there over the last few years. The reality is, I want people to win. I wanted you to win when you bought. Now, I know the vendors won. Here, I want you to win as my vendor, but I want the buyers to think they've won, but I want you to know you have won. So testimonials are just an indication that, well, I work really hard for both a vendor and a buyer. Okay. Now, down the bottom there, we've got an estimated price range. That's your baseline. I believe you're an 850 property. The plus indicates that there's going to be cream. We just don't know how much and who's in the market at that point in time to be able to go forward. Now, the commission, you've probably got a range of commissions. I'm normally 1.8 or just over. But, mate, I love doing repeat business with clients. And, you know, your reality is we've had a one or two in the past. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to represent your family. So I've offered you a 165. I know you've probably got a 1.2 from one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Close. Yeah.
Yeah. He hasn't done a 1.1, has he?
A little bit over.
Okay.
Halfway between the two.
Okay. So the reality is, I believe that with what I bring to the table from my experience and the way I work, I outperform the market. those others, they're selling what, 20, 30 homes a year. I'm selling over 100. I'm not a numbers person. I'm working way longer than I should. I used to have hair, right? The reality is that I'm going to work harder for you than anyone else will to get you what you want. And if at the end of the day we get an offer that's not quite where you want to be and we've got to tweak things, hey, let's tweak things. Okay. But if I get you an outstanding result, you'll still pay me the 1.65.
Fair.
Okay. Mate, what questions do you have? You may have a few that, given the background you've had with the property, anything I can help you with.
Very thorough, mate. More detailed than the other agents I had out.
Okay. So after I've left, your wife will definitely have questions. Okay.
Yep.
No
There's a
doubt.
lot to relay.
Yeah, exactly. So if she wants to catch up with me, happy to catch up with her when she's not looking after children. If you have any questions, because no doubt after I've left, there's going to be, damn it, I should have. Flick me a text, ring me. If you don't get me, I'll always call you back as I've done in the past. But the reality also is I'm going from here. I've got back-to-back appointments all day, but I'm available to you. So just text me. I'll come back to you. If it's a simple one, well, I'll just flick an answer back. But if it's something more than that and you've got to change a direction or circumstance, or if you need, hey, we're going now, let's sit down and map out exactly what we need to do and what the calendar needs to look at to work out and work back. Okay, you need to be settled here. Let's work out a diary of what we need to do to be able to meet the market and achieve what you're trying to achieve. Okay?
Beautiful. I think I've just have I stopped sharing the screen there, guys? Yeah, cool. All right, let's just take a moment to pause. Wow, that's a lot to take in, folks. And what you don't see behind the scenes is winning words and the flow through that come from many, many years of practicing, role playing, and getting really sharp. We're going to open up for a few Q&As in a moment, but just a few words that really resonated with me. Images that create a mood. How important that is. I love that, mate. You work for the vendor, but you work with buyers, right? These are little winning word gems that can help you get that 1%er over the other agent that just walks in, quotes for business, okay? You're casting a net to find the right buyer, not just every buyer. You're sharing, I like the fact how you share educated data, like you take people on a journey of education using data, but you don't make it all about just price indifference, but you're educating. I really enjoyed that. You offer a lot of networking of suppliers and relationships that you have locally with removalists and people to help out. So it just really shows how deeply entrenched you are as a local yourself. This is a goal one, guys, and depending on your supply and inventory market and what it's like, but buyers are shopping for value, not necessarily price, because they're shopping based on what's available over price. I love that. That's a goal one. On the cusp of, I really enjoyed that dialogue that you used, Tim, where you said, look, if we put your home on the waterfront, 900s every day of the week. But as you know, you're back off that fringe of being on the waterfront and we're on the cusp. So we really need to highlight. So what I liked about that, mate, is you didn't make it about price and difference of, oh, no, you're not going to get 9 because you're not on the waterfront. It is, look, to get as close to that number, that magical number, we need to highlight what's on the cusp around us because we know in hindsight, we're not on the waterfront. So use that as your marketing different, folks. That, yes, I know that one went for 9. Yes, it's on the waterfront or a slightly different location. But what we need to emphasize then, whether it's through drone photography, whether it's through dusk, whatever, we got to highlight what's on the cusp of the outer fringe of us to justify as close to that result.
Yeah, whether that's a park, a reserve, a hospital,
golf. Yeah,
all those things.
Love that, mate. I loved it. Guide people, really enjoyed that. That you, even though you're going with EOI, you're still always willing to guide those that are actually intentionally shown interest through inquiring with you directly, whether it by email, phone, text, whatever. This is a goal one. If you ever have a pricing difference when you wrote down that number and what they want, particularly that one that was on the market for 207 days. Wow. Okay, guys. what else have you got of hidden value that I haven't seen or I've overlooked? I love that. That was gold dialogue. Mate,
Mm.
flawless, incredible scripts, winning